and welcome back to the Confidence Show with me, Rebecca Hawkes. I'm so happy to have you here. And today I'm delighted to have another wonderful guest with us. I'm going to introduce you to Jade. Jade is a social media trainer for the party industry and full-time children's entertainer. Jade has become a great friend of mine since we met at a co-working space where she was giving a presentation on how to use Instagram back in 2019. And a fun fact for you, Jade has been to Ibiza 22 times. Welcome, Jade. It's so lovely to have you here.
Hi, Rebecca. Thank you. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that fun fact.
In my little, in the little questionnaire that I send to the guests, I'm like, do you want to include a fun fact? And I read this and I was like, my God, 22 times. How has that even happened?
Oh, you know what? It stemmed from my childhood, Rebecca. It was my mum. She just embedded the island in me, I think. And it's one of those things that once you go, you know you want to go back. I haven't actually been for about 10 years, but I'm working on going back again. It's just a beautiful island. But whenever I tell people I've been 22 times, they just gasp and just like, what? Why? Do you go clubbing? And I'm like, no, it's not even for the clubbing scene. It's just such a beautiful island. It's like in my heart. So yeah, whilst other people have Disney World, I've got Ibiza.
Oh, I imagine Disney World to be your thing.
Oh my God. Yeah, it is. Yeah, I just never got the opportunity to really go. Like I've been to Paris, but yeah, again, I'm working on with the children. So yeah. Gonna go back to Ibiza.
I've never been and I really want to go, but when you said about it that was going to be my other question, like, is it clubbing? Because how on earth do you survive that?
Oh no, I have done it, like, don't get me wrong, it is a kind of a rite of passage when you're there, but at the same time it wasn't really something that I went for or did. Like I just went for the beautiful sunsets, the beaches, the people. Like it's just like a beautiful island. And yeah, obviously if I was going since I think it was from the age of 3 or 4, you learn to speak the language, and you just I've made some amazing friends for life. And then we just kept going back every single year. And people used to say to my mum, well, there are other places in the world, why don't you take them to see the world? And she just was just like, yeah, I know there are other places, but this is it's like a second home. And I think my calling in life should have been actually to be an entertainer out there. It's kind of because it was so embedded in me, I think I should have stayed out there and built an entertainment business out there, although obviously it's changed a lot, but it's kind of what got me started in the entertainment industry.
Oh, that's so cool. So it's kind of grown up with you then, this whole idea of being in the entertainment industry. And that was going to be my next question. Like, when did you decide to become a children's entertainer, and why was that something that you really wanted to do?
Well, you know what, it wasn't, I think when you're younger, at our age as well, like people were like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And my answer was a hairdresser. Then it was an air hostess. Again, this comes from my beefers. I've got a real love for travel and planes, and I'm a bit of a plane geek. And airport, at the airport's the best bit. I've been to an airport at least 44 times. But so I would give sort of that response, and it kind of never went that way. I actually did work experiences in a hairdresser's, and it put me off for life. I think I obviously just chose the wrong place. But the love of entertainment, my dad worked in the entertainment industry. He was a DJ for 40, I could be 50 years. So I always grew up in that world of going to watch him do his pop quizzes, and watching him DJ. And I was always that kid that would go up on stage, push everyone else out the way. But I had I'm not going to sit here going I had drama experience, or I can't sing to save my life. I'd like to think I can dance, but I can't, so I had none of that. But I did have the confidence to go on stage and maybe be a bit of a show off. But I had nothing really to show off, I don't think. So I would always volunteer. And if my dad was at a club, and back then kids were allowed to go to the clubs and sort of watch your dad DJ, I would just kind of want to get involved and say, how can I help? And I'd take requests from people. And I don't know, when he was at his quizzes, I would hand out quiz sheets and do the marking and things like that. And I kind of always wanted to be involved. But it wasn't until I had my second son that something sort of clicked in me. When I was pregnant with him, I was like reading books on setting up a business and entertainment, and I'd worked for McDonald's for like 4 years when I was younger, and worked my way up to management, and that also included being party host. So again, like I volunteered myself to be I'll be the party host. I could do the hokey cokey. Like, how hard can it be? And they gave you like 4 primary colour face paints. I think it was like Snazzy or something, and a book to copy from, and you would just like paint a Batman on and a rubbish cat. And I it sort of took me back to that, and I was like, well, hold on, I've done the party host thing before. Can I do it by myself? This was 10 years ago, and literally a month after I had my second child, I set up and did a party alongside my husband, who is a DJ. He doesn't do it full time, but he's a DJ, and it runs in the family. And he came along and set up his disco gear, and I was hosting. I was really rubbish, but I just thought, this is what I want to do. This is my calling. Like, I should have done this. I should have stayed in Ibiza, and I should have become an entertainer out there, really. But it's never too late. But I did it.
No, that's so incredible. And oh my God, 1 month after having the baby, and you're like, oh yeah, let's do this event. We'll do it. I'll host.
I don't know what I was thinking. Like, and you can see I still got like the baby weight on, and I put on like I've got like loads of fancy dress clothes because I just love dressing up. And I had like a top hat, and I had this like tutu. It was like a black tutu. It was like a Halloween tutu. I don't know what I was thinking. And I just put on some leggings and the brightest cardigan. It was like a mustard cardigan, and off I went. And I mean, it was hard work because I was bouncing around, but I was still like carrying my baby weight, and obviously still recovering from the birth and things like that. And I don't know, it was just, I don't know what I was thinking, but like, thank God I did, because I think maybe if I hadn't done it then, I might have never have done it, with the encouragement of my husband, and obviously some mums at my other son's school. They were in the playground, and they were saying, oh, does anyone know any entertainers? And I just happened to say, oh, my husband's a DJ, can do the music for you. And they were like, oh, okay. And they said to me, why don't you come along and host it? And I think I must have said to them, because I used to work in the nursery there as well. I've got a background in nursery assistant. And they just said, well, come along and host it. The kids all know you. And off you go. And then I remember being like overly professional. I went round the woman's house and set up this like 100-song playlist with her, which was not necessary, by the way. All her kids' favorite songs, her favorite songs, all the games we were going to do. And I was a leader. Like, I was able to control all the kids and lead them, but my hosting work and my entertainment work was not quite there. As my husband kind of reminds me, it was like, you didn't put the mic to your mouth so the kids couldn't hear you, and he said it was all a bit awkward. And I don't know why I didn't just give up on the spot, to be fair.
It's always good to have that constructive criticism, isn't it?
Yeah, thanks. I did dump him, not in life, but with the job. Like a year later, I was like, I'm going to go off and do it on my own now.
Don't need you anymore. I know
No.
what.
Bless him.
Oh, that's amazing. You must have to have so much energy. I mean, you're a very vibrant person anyway. You're always full of life. You're always so outgoing, and you have this like vivacious like energy about you. How do you keep that up? Because especially when you're entertaining kids, like, it must be exhausting to try and like keep their attention all that time. Where do you get your energy from?
I don't know, Rebecca. I'm so tired. I don't know. I think it's a natural thing. I didn't realise that until a few years ago, and when people like booking started to say to me, where'd you get your energy from? Like, I didn't realise that I needed to keep that energy up, especially at the moment. I'm getting like 2 or 3 bookings in a day. And I finished the first one, and they go, oh, have you got any more today? And I go, yeah, I've got 2 more. And then it's sort of reality sets in, and I go, oh my gosh, like, how am I going to keep this up? I think it's naturally in me. Like, I love life, and I don't know, just being out there with other people. I think I bounce off other people, especially children. I suppose there's an element of being a child myself, but having that teacher element in me too. So you're kind of controlling them. And then just, again, it comes from my dad, like the dad jokes and just being a wally, and, I'm comfortable with myself, that people can laugh at me and with me. That's not a problem, obviously, if it's in the right context. And if I'm thriving off that and the right audience is there, then you've got me at my, my energy levels are going to be soaring, whether it's the third party or not in a day. I do come home and I do just like power down, and I just like zonk. and then my legs start to hurt and it all sort of kicks in, and as I'm getting older as well, I'm starting to notice things, and yeah, I'm tired, but I've got into a routine now where my show, the kids are doing all the hard work really. I'm just the guide. So if I want to do, I mean, I do join in with things like the hokey cokey. I don't believe in standing behind my equipment and getting them to do it. Get involved, get the audience up, and if they've got all the energy, then I can suppress mine a little bit and just let them do it. So I've kind of got into a nice routine with the energy levels, and obviously eating and drinking on the job as well where I can, just so I don't power down too soon.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you get home and you do kind of have that time to relax, what's your like go to? Like, how do you kind of recharge and just chill from the day?
I sit in my little corner where I'm sitting now. um that's what I literally said to my husband yesterday, actually, that this is my happy place.
Mm.
I sat down and I don't know, I do catch up with a bit of social media. That's kind of my, like, put yourself into your phone, power down sort of thing whilst seeing what everyone else is up to. And then, food, I'll always be hungry, obviously the energy levels as well. So I'll always like make sure my dinner is there, if not on, by the time I get home. And then it's literally, I'm just staring either at the telly or Netflix, or on the way home from a party, I will put my music on really loudly and drive, because I'm buzzing. So I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm going to put my music on, no more hokey cokey, let's put something that's, right up my street, sing along. And then by the time I get home, I mean, my kids are older now, so they're not too bothered that I've got to sit and then entertain them. When they were younger, I used to feel really guilty that I wouldn't spend much time with them when I got home from a party. Sort of, they had me Monday to Friday, but the weekend they'd be with their dad. So they've got used to that now. So because people say, oh, then you go home, you've got to sort the kids out. I'm like, no, they're older now, so I really don't have to. But I still, I see my family. They know that I'm going to put my headphones on, catch up with some Netflix until I fall asleep, really.
Nice. It's good that your family understand. And I want to touch on that because so many people talk about like binging Netflix is bad and scrolling on your phone is bad. But actually, for some of us, and for myself, I include myself in this as well, that's how we recharge, that's how we kind of unwind, that's kind of how we decompress from the day. And for me, it's kind of how I re-regulate my nervous system if I've been very stressed. It's how I calm. And I
Yeah.
think so many people make you feel guilty for doing that, but actually they can be very good tools, like the scrolling and the binging the Netflix or the watching telly. They can be very good tools for helping to relax us. And
Yeah.
I think it's
I
nothing
think I've
off.
and I think I've got into a routine with it now. Like if I don't do that, then what else? I've got a really low boredom threshold as well. So I have to be busy all the time. Even if I'm just sitting
Mm.
and watching telly, I will paint my nails, or I'll like I do scrapbooking on my phone, or I'll see, it's the phone again. I mean, I used to cross stitch a lot, and I used to do crafts and like proper scrapbooking, like sticking and pasting, and all my life I've like just had those hobbies. And people used to say to me, well, how do you fit everything in life? Like, you're always so busy, you're always going out, you're always working, how do you get time to create this cross stitch that you've done? And I'm just one of those people that's like, I make the time. Like, that is for me. I can still be a mum and have that hour to myself. Or I think also, I think I've parented that way to teach them that this is my time. You also need to go off and do your thing. You don't need to be around me all the time. We do like come together and do other things, and it's just the way our life has fallen into place. So people that make you feel guilty for doing the things you love, it probably just means that they don't have it themselves, or they don't have the time, or they haven't made that time to do that. And I just, no one should begrudge you for that. I don't think, I need those things. And also I do believe that everything within reason though. So like, obviously, if I'm starting to get addicted, we all get addicted to our phones. I probably was addicted, but I've kind of weaned off it now. I know I'm bored of it anyway, so I kind of like give myself maybe half an hour, flick through my Instagram, I did jump on board with TikTok the last couple of weeks and gone down the rabbit hole, but set that time on my phone and that's my time. And then the rest is with my husband. We'll binge watch something together and yeah, doing whatever. I normally read a book. And just, yeah, give myself that winding down time. Otherwise, when I don't get that, like the other day, I kind of blew up, really. Yeah. So, yeah, I think it just depends on the person.
I love that so much. And I think it's such a good thing that you're kind of sharing that with the kids and saying to them, like, you can have this time for you, because so many of us watch our parents never have any time for ourselves. And now like my mum's always done the same, like Sundays are her like quiet day. So she might have a lazier day. She might have naps in the afternoon. And that's probably where my love of naps comes from.
I
But
love that.
that's always been instilled in me, that it's okay to have those down times. And I think I need them. I know I need them. Like mentally, it serves me better. So the fact that you're teaching that to your kids, I think is so important. And then, as you say, you have that family time where you come together, and you spend that time together.
Yeah.
So you have been a children's entertainer. Is it about 6 years?
No, it's 10 now.
10 now. Oh my God.
Yeah, I know, but when I say that, I have to keep checking the diary because I'm like, is it 10? Yes, it's 10. Because obviously Matthew, my youngest, turned 10 last week,
Oh my
and then
God.
I set up in October, a month later. Yeah, so it's 10 years.
So 10
But
years, and you've done that, and you've also done social media management, and now you're helping other party entertainers with their social media. So what made you want to help the party industry specifically with their social media content?
I think just because it's something that I really relied on with my party business. Social media got me through the 10 years basically and got me to where I am. And then, helping, I did help other industries until I realized I woke up one day and I was just like, hold on, why am I not helping my industry? And loads of people have said it beforehand, probably yourself as well, Rebecca, have said to me, have you thought about helping the party industry? And I would just brush it away because I don't think I was ready to. But I've got so much experience and so many sort of case studies for myself to show the party industry that this is what you need to be doing to help yourself grow. And also I realized that the party industry is a completely different industry to others in terms of their marketing. Obviously, we do rely on like word of mouth, like massively, and I do as well. But I mean, you've got to be obviously good at what you do, but I still don't think the word of mouth would come if I wasn't so heavily marketing on social media, especially over the 10 years where it's changed so much. I feel like we're in a bit of a lull at the moment, but there's still, you still need to market your business. And just, yeah, one day I woke up and it clicked and I went, right, party industry needs my help. I'm ready to go. Come and get it, sort of thing. And using all my experience from both sort of businesses and work over the years to give that information out and I suppose earn another passive income for myself, because obviously entertainment is weekends mostly. I do weekdays too, but and Mondays are my days for like admin and catching up with correspondence and things like that. And then what do you do for the rest of the week? And this is I can obviously set up another business and do passive income, but the industry itself can be focusing on their marketing and their training and their learning and learning how to market and getting a routine with it. I mean, I don't really know what else they're doing during that week. So why not focus on your social media marketing?
And you touch on the passive income thing. I think you were one of the first people to actually create something outside of entertaining, wasn't it? Because you had your face painting course when you
Yeah.
those up, and you've created many different courses since and many different workshops. So do you want to touch on a little bit about how you came to the decision to create those courses and how it impacted your party business in a positive way?
Yeah, I think again it comes back to I was working weekends and it was going well, obviously pre-pandemic, and I think I got to a level where my face painting was like I was confident with it because it takes, you can't just get up and face paint, and we're our own worst critic. Like, it's being an artist, artists always pick out you know, the worst in themselves. And you know, over the years of face painting, I was put down quite a lot actually. So I had to rebuild my confidence, and that comes from other face painters, which is really sad. But I definitely got to that point where I was like, you know what, I can teach other people, other mums like myself, to earn a little bit of pocket money. To just, I'm not saying like you have to build up a massive face paint business and, you know, be fully booked every weekend. It wasn't about that. It was just giving them, you know, I'd had my son, I needed some extra money, and I started with face painting. And I thought, well, why can't I teach others to do that too? You know, I taught up to an intermediate level because that's where I was. And it was online, so before the pandemic. So yeah, I didn't realize I might be one of the first people to do that. And the party industry, the face paint industry had courses where you physically go to them. There's a face painting shop you could go to and they would do courses. But I wanted to tap into mums that can't travel, or just wanted to do it online, and I could do it a bit like YouTube where you could show people how to face paint from beginning to end really. And that went down really well, and I also made contacts from that, and some of the people that I trained are some of my biggest competitors now, but that's not a problem. Like, I'm really pleased for them. But we pass work on to each other as well. There's so much more than just me earning the money. It's like there was, you know, new contacts, new networking, new people that would remember me and book me for their own kids' parties anyway. And yeah, it just opened up this whole other world of passive income and training and other people really. So yeah, it's something that I can pick up and put down as well whenever I want. So like, obviously the course is closed at the moment, but there's nothing stopping me from launching it again, adding new designs, adding new bits to it, keeping it fresh. Yeah, and yeah, you've inspired me to sort of pick it back up again, really.
Oh no! Give me another
Actually,
idea.
really great.
Something else to
Whoops.
do. Moving kind of back into the marketing side of things and like helping other entertainers marketing their business. You have spoken on your socials about people feeling like they have to wear a mask and keeping their personal life very separate from their business. But you yourself speak very openly about your experience with homelessness, being a single mum, experiencing emotional abuse, and in more recent times, the devastating loss of your dad to COVID. Talking about these human experiences hasn't impacted your business in the way that people might expect. Can you touch on how sharing your story can really help people connect with you and the positive effect it can have on your business?
Yeah, I mean, people might be really shocked to hear that
Mm.
I've been so open about those things. You know, they are big, life-changing and sometimes traumatic experiences. And everybody has them, unfortunately. It's just we don't know about it. And social media is really frightening to put yourself out there and talk about those things, because we're all scared of the backlash, the negativity that it might bring, trolls. You know, there's always somebody that has an opinion on something. But I just felt, I think it was somebody that actually that I watched who also told their story, and it kind of gave me permission to tell mine. It
Mm.
was like, because somebody else had said that they'd been through something traumatic, it gave me, yeah, the permission to tell my story. And you know, why tell it like with your business? Like, what's that got to do with it? But I think where I'm an entertainer, it's a personal brand, and I felt it was really important for my audience to get to know me, and that, you know, it's not just a facade, that I am a human being, I'm a mum. And it was kind of just without, you know, I didn't go into massive detail, but it was like telling my story and my journey, and, you know, how I got from A to B, or, you know, how did I get from being an entertainer? Like, why did you not do it when you were 20? You started it when you were 30. And it's that, it's like, well, if people know how I got here, it's more relatable, and I mean, they'll either like me or they don't, but obviously I wanted to tap into the people that did. And it's a conversational starter sometimes. You know, people have messaged me and said, you know, you lost your dad, you know, we were there for the whole story. It was really shocking at the time. He was one of the first people to pass away in the pandemic, and it kind of brought reality to people that this was real. And And then it's been a conversational starter, you know, I'm sorry about that, you know, I don't know how you cope, but we'd like to book you, or anything like that. And even if it didn't lead into a sale, people stop me in the street, and some people I don't even know, or can't put the name to the face, and they're talking to me about things that have happened, and especially things about emotional abuse, which is not many people, or women or men, talk about. I've had lots of people reach out to me on social media and say my daughter's going through this, or they're going through it. I've had conversations on the phone with women mostly, that have said, I'm in that situation now and I don't know what to do, and can you advise? And it's obviously, it's not my place to advise, but I've been through it, and I think I would have wanted somebody like me back then, or when I was going through everything, to be able to relate as well. And again, going back to my business, it's just showing that I'm a human being, and that it's not all happy. And as long as obviously I don't project that onto the children when I'm working, which I would never do, the parents have some idea of the trauma, and might be a bit more, I don't know, human towards you perhaps, and not just see you as like churning out a booking after booking after booking, and they're not just a number. Some people become friends, some people just get to know me, that I've never met, that pass work on to me. You know, there's all different reasons why I do it, and I don't do it as often, but I'll put up a story that's related. There'll always be a point to it. It won't just be like, you know, here, this is what I went through. It'll be, you know, it might be an anniversary, it might be a milestone, it might be why I'm feeling a bit icky that day, or then people can sort of go, oh, okay, yeah, I understand, you know, she's not a robot. And also, I'm not saying everybody's like me, you know, I'm happy to talk about things. I don't have many boundaries, I don't think I should have. But I just feel that humanity, we're all about stories, and it's how we talk to each other, and it's how we can relate, and it's how we find out that we don't have anything common with people, and it's just a natural thing. So although doing it on social media can bring up a lot of, you know, things that people might not be comfortable with, it can be such a wonderful thing as well. I've definitely met people that I've gone to train, or talked about being so personable, where they've said, I could never bring myself to tell this story, that story, how I got here. Somebody worked in a bank, and she wasn't allowed to set up another business on the side, and she was like, so I can't market online, I'm not allowed to show my face because it'll, you know, yeah, it was really tricky. And I, you know, of course she didn't have to show her face to market her business, but how are people going to remember you and relate to you if you don't give, it's a kind of like a USP, I suppose. My USP is people getting to know me, and liking me or not liking me, and them basing their service on that purchase, on that person. It's a bit like walking into a shop, and if nobody gives you that customer service, you're going to walk straight back out again. It's similar to that, you know. Well, I mean, I do. You know, I know I walk into a restaurant, if they haven't acknowledged me within 30 seconds, I'm like, you know what, I don't like this, I'm going to walk back out again, you know. And it's similar on social media, and especially in the party industry where it's quite saturated, we kind of need to differentiate ourselves between each other. And one of the reasons I stand out as an entertainer is because I'm so open. And obviously there's a bit of protection there with my children. I try not to share names, or I try not to I mean, they don't like me showing their photo anyway, so I respect them for that. But I tell their story, and I call them my eldest and my youngest, but sometimes their name slips through. But so you've still got to protect my children. They do not want me to talk about them on social media, and that's absolutely fine. But yeah, while still trying to be a human being and running a business at the same time.
Wow, that's so interesting. At what point did the boys come to you and say, I don't want you to talk about me, or I don't want you to share my name or share anything that's going on with me? Because I suppose you have to get to a certain age or a certain point in your life where you make that decision. Like, how do you, especially being younger, you'd kind of, I suppose I would just assume that the kids would want to be talked about, because
Yeah, I do assume, yeah, of course, especially the youngest, who doesn't know any difference and has grown up with me being an entertainer. The eldest, who's 6.5 years older than the younger one, I think it's more when his friends started to notice that I was on social media, they were on social media, and it started to affect him. So we'd go into school and the kids would be on Instagram and see one of my stories, and they would kind of use that to take the mickey, I suppose. And he started to feel embarrassed. And but even before then, he would say, oh, you're so cringe. And, I'd be, I don't know, before reels, I'd probably not be dancing in front of the camera, but I'd be talking to it and showing glimpses of the school run or things like that. And then he, as he started to say, you're so cringe, or, I'd start subconsciously, I'd start to realize that, oh, okay, he doesn't like that. So I'll do it when he's not in the room. And then, I take photos of him, which I do for our photo albums and scrapbooks and things. But sometimes he'll, only the last couple of years, he started to say, he's going to be 17 soon, but he started to say, oh, you're not putting that on Facebook, are you? And I've got, oh, yeah, I was going to. And he's like, no, please don't. So I don't, which does kind of, I find that really difficult not to do. But I do respect, I have to respect his wishes. He's old enough to say, Mum, please stop putting that on social media. Whereas the youngest one, I don't think he cares at the moment. I mean, again, it might change as he goes into secondary school, but he knows that it's all part and parcel of what I do, I suppose. And yeah, I don't want to embarrass my children, but I think that's part of being a parent.
I was just going to say, I feel like that's just a rite of passage, isn't it? Like,
It is.
all
It
parents
is.
embarrass their kids at
Yeah,
some
I'm
stage.
naturally embarrassing. I only have to breathe with the eldest, and he's like, "Oh, you're so embarrassing," and I'm like, "I'm just not doing anything, mate." Plus, I've always been like this, so I'm not going to start changing for you. But I think I did it with my parents, and if my parents were on social media, would I have minded? No, I wouldn't have minded. But again, I think it's a generational thing, and also if it's affecting your school life, I don't want that for my children. So yeah, I mean, I can still talk about things without involving them. I still have a life without my kids too. So yeah, I can get around it.
I love that. And I do think it's so important to have that life without the kids as well. Like,
Oh yeah.
I think that's really good. I
Yeah,
mean,
and with other children as well. Like, yeah, but you know what? For like parents at parties say to me, how do you do this? And how, like, when you go home, obviously, entertain your children. And I say, I'm just one of those mums that I prefer entertaining everyone else's kids. I think that comes from working in the nursery as well. It's embedded in me. And I'm much more, I think, because I hand your kids back. Whereas with my children, I'm a bit more regimented, and I'm a bit more like, obviously, I bring them up a certain way, and I would never tell another parent how to bring their kids up. But I have that entertainment control where, you know, your kids are there to have fun, and it's all inclusive, and we all want to be who we want to be, even if it's just for those 2 hours.
mm,
You know, they might not get that at home. I don't want to judge anybody, but some kids might not get that. And I have seen some parents that I think, oh gosh, let the kid. I was face painting the other day, and this dad, the poor girl, she was so sweet. And I talk to them when I face paint. I just say, right, close your eyes, or I'm now painting, the ears on, or whatever it might be. And this dad just kept saying, keep still, keep still. She's telling you to keep still. And I went, I'm not telling her to keep still. She's all right. And then he kept coming back saying, keep still. And I'm thinking, this poor girl, she's got 2 minutes in the chair with me. And I just want to experience this magical,
mm.
wonderful thing that face painting is. And you're telling her to keep still. So it's those sort of things where obviously I'm not going to tell him how to parent, but my job is to let them be kids in that moment. And same with my children. I suppose they get moments of, I have to tell them off, or they're doing something wrong, or they're not doing it how I want them to do it, and I need to give them that break. And it's just finding that balance of yeah, being mum and yeah, being an entertainer. It's quite hard. We do have a lot of fun, but like I always say, my husband is the fun one and I'm the serious one. It's like, well, hold on, how does that work? Am I serious? But yeah, I am. I don't really want to sit and play with my kids.
I suppose it's different when you're like an entertainer, because one, as you said, you get to give them back, but two, you're getting paid for it as well. So it's like, well, I'm
Yeah.
something from this.
Yeah, you know what? There is that added bonus. I forgot about that. Of course, I get paid. I mean, if someone paid me to bring my kids up, then maybe it would be a different board game. Yeah, I suppose I get paid too. So I've got yeah, thanks. It's just thrown me. I'm like, oh yeah, forgot to get paid to look after other people's kids.
Oh dear. as you've kind of touched on already, you're a huge advocate for standing out from the crowd
Yeah.
and not trying to be like anyone else, which I really admire. And you talk a lot on your socials about how other entertainers all share the same kind of content. So for example, it's always pictures of balloon towers or a fancy cake, or I don't know, the same face painted or something, but they don't show themselves and their faces or let their audience know who we are. Why is it important for entertainers specifically, and well, to be honest, anyone with an online business really, to showcase who they are as well as what they do? And how do you
Yeah,
get
I
that
think,
right?
yeah, I mean, it's hard because obviously everyone's different. So I can't come along and just be like, well, you have to show your face, like it or not, build that confidence up and or whatever it is, because it's not easy. And I was really shy as a young kid. And my confidence probably actually came from being at McDonald's. And at the time you had to like shout over the counter, you know, how many burgers you wanted. And they used to say to me, Jade, you need to shout it out. And I used to go, "Oh, okay." And I had to build up that confidence. Okay, any second now, I'm gonna shout out, I need 4 burgers. And it was hot. I still remember that. But it was instilled in me, and eventually I built my confidence, and this person came out of me that I am today. So I appreciate that not everybody is like that, and obviously you're all about confidence too. But I think it's so important for the party industry to stand out. We're all doing balloon towers, we're all doing cakes, you know, it's completely saturated. There's so many entertainers, mostly male actually, but there's a lot of female entertainers too. And especially as entertainers, we have to show we have a personality, and we have to show what makes us different from, you know, Mr. Custard down the road or something. You know, it's like that's all well and great. And I don't claim to be the best magician and you have to book me because I am the best. We're all saying that we're the best. Well, so what? Like, so what if we're the best? You know, the customers don't care if you're the best. They just want to know that you can do the job that they're paying for. And if you're then, you know, you can still talk about your USP, especially when it comes to like balloon towers and these, yeah, there's lots of like, all I can see is balloon cut. If a customer says to me, I want someone that can create this balloon design, I draw a blank because I can't remember anybody because they all look the same. So how are you going to not look the same and be different? Like, how are you going to explain to your audience that they need to book you over this person that's down the road that does exactly the same thing as you? Like, it's going to be really overwhelming for the customer as well. And it turns out they might not book anything in the end because it's too overwhelming, and there's nobody that's different or standing out. And then that's when they'll probably actually go for the cheapest one, or, you know, shop around and do a price comparison. And that's not a problem, you know, there's customers for every market, but what you want is them to chuck the money at you and not even question it. You want them to be like, just take my money. I've been wanting you for I get customers, so I've been wanting you for years, and finally my kids are old enough, take my money. That is what you want. And you can do that by showing your face, and you don't have to tell but everybody that what you've had for dinner or anything like that. But, you know, just be, you know, share your story, or share that you've got kids, or share that you're married and living that 10 miles down the road from them, or whatever it might be, or share why you are priced that way, or what it took for you to get there, and where you want to go with it. And because people want to be part of that journey and part of that story, and they want to feel like, well, we were with you from the beginning, you know. And I'll always remember that you started off small and we've helped you get to that, you know, that point. You might have won an award, or things like actually awards as well. I can't have won an award if my audience hadn't voted for me. And why did they vote for me? Half of them have never even seen me perform. Like, it really blows my mind sometimes that someone will recommend me and I'll be like, well, they had no idea what I do in a show. Like, and what, but why? Why are they recommending me? Well, partly word of mouth, and partly because I've asked them to, because they feel like they know me through social media, through a screen, you know. And I think that's really, really important. And that's one of the reasons why I set up social media marketing, is to try and get that across. I'm so passionate about it. I'm like, guys, come on, like, stop doing the same thing as her down the road. Like, And it's very easy to do that because, as I say, I was really shy, and then I had to talk to camera, and then I had to be different, and then I wasn't at the same level as other face painters when I first started out. So how do I get there, and how do I get people to book me? And it was this whole big thing. It's quite overwhelming. I didn't just wake up and bam, I'm talking to camera, and bam, I'm telling my story. It was all like a natural progression over the years, but you have to kind of know that it's going to take a long time for people to listen to your story and understand you, and then when they're ready to book, they're going to remember you over the other person that might have just set up a few weeks ago, and you like their setup, but you kind of feel affiliated with you because you've been through that journey and that story. So yeah, I find I'm really passionate about that, and just have to find the right audience that feel the same passion as me but don't know how to get there, I suppose. I don't know if it's an industry thing, like the party industry just needs to change slightly and be standing out more, I
Mm.
think. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you touched on how nerve-wracking it can be, because obviously there's those fears of judgment, the fears of criticism, and you talked about having to, like, you've had to build that confidence yourself. What did you do to build that confidence in yourself?
I think I had a passion for my business. I think if the passion isn't there, you're not then going to put yourself in a position where you need to push it.
Mm.
So passion for business is one of them. I really wanted to make a go of it because I wasn't, like, in the beginning, it was just a hobby, a bit of pocket money, as I said, and then I wanted to quit because I was getting all these horrible like customers that just didn't appreciate what I did, and it was in that moment that I clicked, and I was just like, right, I'm going to have to put myself out there, but I'm petrified. And I think I sort of went on a training course for marketing itself. And then the second thing I did was, because video wasn't as dominant then, but it was starting to be, I thought the only way I can stand out is to do video because no one else is doing it. But that came with, oh my gosh, the nerves, I still feel them. Like now I don't even think about it, but I still look back at some of my lives, my first lives on Facebook, or some of my first stories, and the phone camera is like under my chin, so you can see all my chins, and I've got like this monotone, I suppose, newsreader voice where it's like I put it on. It was
Yeah.
really bizarre. So, but I would just practice. So I wouldn't post those videos like in the beginning. I would just be like, hello, I'd be talking to the camera like, hello, it's Jade here. Um, and then I sort of just built up that confidence, and then I would post it when I felt confident. But the beauty of it is I wouldn't look back at it, because then you're pointing out things that you think also other people can see, like your spots that day,
Mm.
or I don't know, the way you speak. Nobody likes the sound of their own voice anyway. And I just started, you end up pointing those things out, and then if you're going to be pointing those things out, you're not going to post again. You're going to be like, oh no, gosh, it was horrible, and I don't ever want to do it again. But I think the more I posted and ghosted myself, put it out there, I was getting the information across, the more things started to change. My confidence got better, my voice became more natural. I would hold the camera more upwards, just little things that I might have noticed. I also watched other people and how they would do their lives, so that I could kind of imitate, not the content, but just the way they were, until I started to find my own voice and find that I could come into the camera and be like, hello, it's me, rather than hi, it's Jade, and also having that starting point of knowing what you're going to say. So if
Mm.
you're just going to like hit the record button and be like, oh gosh, oh, what do I say? Hello. And I don't really know why I'm on here, but I feel like I have to go on here. It's that you're going to lose your trail of thought. So I had like prompts to build my confidence up. And it would start with, hello, it's Jade here. I'm literally just introducing myself, easy peasy. And then maybe explaining what I'm going to talk about. Today I'm going to talk to you about da 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 da, and off I go. And maybe just some bullet points, because I do go off on a tangent, to rein it back in. And then keeping it short and sweet, and like no mumbling, But if you say a lot, which I do in my podcast, oh my gosh, when I'm editing my podcast, like Like I just edited every out. I didn't realize how often I said it. I've probably done it today. Doing it now, see, you just have to be natural and not pinpoint things, because people only care about what you have to say and not what you look like or how you're saying it. Yeah, so just the confidence thing just came with time, and maybe a little bit of help from you too. Your podcast.
I think that's such good advice, like not watching things back, because I used to be exactly the same. Like I used to, when I was social media managing, I used to tell all my clients, you've got to be on video, you've got to put yourself on, like you've got to put your face online, you've got to go on lives. And I wouldn't do it myself because I was always so scared of actually doing that. And the same, like I could not stand the sound of my voice. It was like a massive hang up that I had, because like I'd always had my voice taking the mick out of, like saying it's all squeaky or it's this or that or whatever.
Yeah.
So it was always something I was so self-conscious about. Now, listen to myself all day, don't really care. Like having to edit all the podcasts, having to edit videos,
Yeah,
I
of course.
don't care anymore. And I do
Yeah.
think that confidence comes from taking action and comes from practicing and just doing it and saying, do you know what, this is better than nothing.
Yeah, it's the same with my podcast, because I only set up my podcast earlier this year. So that's like 2 years into my business. And honestly, when I got in front of that microphone, it was like the beginning of when I tried to do videos. It was like I reverted back into old Jade, and I was like, oh my, and my husband was standing over me because he was helping me with all the audio. He was just like speaking to the mic. I was like, oh my God, I really can't do this. And you're standing there watching me and I can hear myself in the headphone. And he was like, what's wrong with you? You should be used to this. I was like, no, it's completely different. I was like, because I can hear myself and there's no camera to sort of like talk to. So I have to kind of be a different way. And again, that took, I think I must have recorded my first episode like another 5 times until I got back to that point of going, okay, now I'm ready to record properly. It was, and I don't know if it's because it was a different format, and it wasn't video. So with video, like we say, we can just sit in front of it, listen to myself all day, but the podcast, I don't know. It was a completely different format. You kind of got to talk a bit differently. I don't know. It was really, really weird. So I had, again, confidence issues, and I had to just remember what I did in the beginning. Practice before you go on. If you make a mistake, my husband said you can edit it out, which kind of helped as well. I thought, oh yeah, okay, I can edit. Okay, fine. Which helped me with my editing skills as well. So you never know, like the confidence as you grow leads you to new skills and new ways of being, or new things that you may have never wanted to achieve. So yeah, I got over it and recorded 13 episodes. And it actually, I've probably done it the wrong way around. I probably, because I did it on my own to start with, and then I invited guests on, similar to yourself. Me personally, I wish I'd done it the other way around and had guests on first to build that confidence up, because then I could like bounce off of them and then go on and do episodes on my own. So I kind of probably did it the wrong way around for me. But yeah, I had to build that confidence back up. And I probably will have to build it back up again when I go back and do series 3 for it. So, it's just because if you don't keep practicing it, you're going to sort of revert backwards like I did.
Yeah,
Don't recommend.
I know that feeling. I was kind of the same in the beginning. Like I don't remember being nervous about doing the podcast, but listening back to some of the earlier episodes, now I'm just like, oh my God, it sounds so cringy.
We all have to start somewhere though.
I know. And I used to edit out every like long pause, every time I breathed in, every now I'm just like, nope, people can listen to that 1 second pause, it's gonna be fine.
Yeah, I think we think too hard about it.
Yeah, like that's what makes it more human. I like to think that the podcast is really conversational. So it's more like if I was sat in a room having a chat with someone, I would say a lot. I would breathe a lot. Like it's just what happens.
I've never noticed you breathing a lot, so don't worry about it. But it's true. It's I think we think too hard, and yeah, I think it's good therapy for me to look back on some of my lives or my earlier podcasts or my earlier stories, so I can A, see how far I've come in confidence and grown, and B, to not continue to do those things that I think are mistakes. But it doesn't matter. It got the message out. you know, and you have to start somewhere, otherwise you're never going to progress. And I tell myself that a lot, because like, come on, Jade, you gotta start somewhere. Stop trying. I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so I'm like, you know, I want to be where I was, you know, 3 years ago yesterday. And it's like, well, it doesn't work like that, you know, you have to kind of work on it, so, as you know. So yeah, it's a sort of work in progress, I think.
Absolutely, absolutely. Um, as we've touched on briefly already, like one of the things that I admire about you is your willingness to share so openly about the experiences that have impacted your life. But you have faced some criticism from it in the past. How do you cope when people aren't supportive of what you're sharing? And how do you stop it from impacting you moving forward?
That's such a good question, you know, because it's not all, you know, pretty stuff. And I mean, in the past, again, it's a growth thing, because I'm quite sensitive and I've had to grow a backbone. And I'm one of these people that I'm like, you know, treat others how you want to be treated, and everybody's wonderful, and I love meeting people, and you're all so beautiful, but they're not. And I learned that the hard way, and it's horrible. And yes, so in the beginning of my party business, there was a lot of criticism from, you know, as I said, face painters. It wasn't so much the entertainers, it was the face painter side. And how did I deal with that? Probably not how I would deal with it today. I had a little cry, but I would kick off, because I never believe in belittling yourself and sticking up for yourself. You know, if you would do it to somebody else, why are you not doing it to yourself? So back then, I would have bit back, and I would have responded, and I would have given it back, and I would have been like, I mean, in kindness, it still would have been kindness. I would have killed them with kindness. I would have been like, you know, how dare you say that to me? You know, I don't understand why you're saying these things. Like, you know, awful. And then over time, you know, criticism still came at me no matter what I did. And I just thought, you know, there's always going to be somebody that's going to criticize me, because I think that's I think if you're not getting criticized, you're not successful. Now, I'm not saying that if anyone hasn't been criticized, you're not successful, but I think it brings out, you know, maybe the jealousy in people, or their whatever they're feeling, they're going to let it out on you because they want to be where you are, or their internal thoughts, or whatever it might be, and you just happen to be there. And I it's horrible to say, I might have done it myself to people. I don't think I've ever been really like horrible or said disgusting things, but I might have questioned their opinion or given mine, and then taken a step back and gone, oh, you know, that was uncalled for. And I'm quite self-aware, and I don't do it as much. And we're only human. But when you're on the internet, there is time to think before you post. And there's also time to not think before you post. So some people will just type it all out, hit the post button, and not realize how they're affecting that person. And other people will think about it, realize that they do want to go ahead with their criticism, and still post it anyway. So I think, well, as horrible as it sounds, I think we need a bit of that, just a little bit, you know, not enough to damage your mental health, or, you know, really annoy and upset you. I don't want anybody to be upset, but I think the criticism helps us to grow. And I actually have to admit that one of the times I had the biggest complaint ever, and she was deservedly so, and I tried to resolve it, and she still criticized me 2 years later. But it changed my show for the better. It, you know, the show that I had been doing at parties for 2 years went a little bit wrong, and I didn't realize that I could have changed it. I could have stopped it from happening. And you know, I went through that 2 or 3 weeks of, I was quiet on social media, and I was crying every day. You know, it was horrible. I'd messed up. I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. I don't want to upset anybody. And I mean, she was one of those mums that was really just, you know, I don't think anything I could have done would have helped her. But I thank her for it, because it changed my show, and it changed how I dealt with customer complaints, and it changed how I changed my terms and conditions. And, you know, you are only human, so you make mistakes. But when it's uncalled for criticism, I now don't respond, block and delete. The most recent one I had was probably about 5 months ago, when I posted a reel. Again, it was a bit of a dig at parents, which I wouldn't recommend. And it was one that I found a sound on reels that I thought matched the message I was trying to get across. But I can see why it would have been taken a bit maybe the wrong way, and not, if you don't know me and you come across it, it could be seen as arrogant. And that's what she called me. She said, "You are arrogant, you cannot post something like this." I literally blocked and deleted. Well, I think I did respond and said, "Well, it's a reflection of how you're feeling today. Unfortunately, you had to let it out on me." Then I blocked and deleted. And I looked at the reel and I was just like, okay, I can see where she's coming from. But it was one person out of like 100 amazing comments and people that could relate to it and said, "Oh yeah, I hear you." But like, on reflection, that's not how I want to market my business. I don't want to be seen as arrogant. And then I sort of had this thing about, well, actually it's not arrogance, it's confidence, which can also be confused. And she doesn't know my story, and she didn't know anything about me. She didn't know that I used to be really shy, so maybe a bit of arrogance might come through now. Fine. So you can hear yourself justifying it. And don't get me wrong, although I respond to criticism quite quickly now and let it go, I will still have that evening of going over it in my head, because I think that's just a natural thing to do. And I'll talk it out with my husband and I'll be like, "She called me arrogant. Am I arrogant? Like, this was it called for? Look at this reel. But like, is it good? Is it bad? Should I take it down?" All those things. Then I'll sleep on it and I'll wake up the next day and I'll be like, "Okay, it's just another story that I can tell on a podcast, or tell my audience, this is how you deal with it." And that's how I'm now. I kind of welcome it in a horrible way. That sounds really awful, but I welcome it so I can turn it into content so that other people can use it to their advantage and not make the same mistakes that I make. But you're not going to know you make those mistakes until you do them. And there'll still be times in the future where I will still get criticized for things, and it depends on who's criticizing. If it's your audience, then okay, you might need to look at things. But if it's other peers and people in your industry, it's their problem and they need to let it go and stop watching you and crack on, really. So yeah, I've learned the hard way. I could probably turn it into a whole episode on its own, really.
I think that's such a good perspective to have, because I think so many people would be knocked so badly by the criticism, but the fact that you can admit when maybe things have gone wrong and you can take that criticism and learn from it, but then also you can look at it and you can reflect on it and say, okay, is this something that I've done, or is this actually somebody projecting their stuff onto me? And you can choose to look at it in that respect as well. I think that's such a valuable skill to have, and I think it's a great way to ensure that you're not just letting that criticism consume you, because I know it's happened to me. I think there's been like 2 occasions off the top of my head that I can remember when I was being really visible, and I had comments on 2 different reels, and I was just like, why is that necessary? And it makes you question everything, and you're like, why do I even want to show up anymore? Like, I'm trying to be more visible, I'm trying to help more people with my content, but then I'm getting things like this. And I think one occasion, actually I think both occasions, I was able to look at it, and one person was somebody else in the business industry, and I was just like, that's so unnecessary to say something so shitty on my post. Like, why did you not just send me a DM and be like, actually XYZ blah blah blah, like that just makes you look like a shitty person and I'm not even going to bother. And then the other one was somebody who, I don't think they did have a business, but the content that it was around, I could understand the kind of way that they responded to it. And I was like, this is just because of trauma or because of something that's happened to them, and they can just not handle this, or they just don't like this perspective, kind of thing. So it was a bit it was a bit easier for me to let go. But it does impact you. It does make you kind of want to hide away a little bit. It can be scary.
Oh gosh, yeah, definitely. I think there's I'm sure you'd agree, it's definitely a mindset thing too. It's, when I look back over the 10 years from sort of quiet and shy Jade to, loud, outgoing and extrovert. And I mean, I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, but if you're going to do it first, I am going to expect a response, and I think one of the times I'd had enough of the face paint world coming down on me, regardless of whether I was right or wrong. Just let it go. And in the end, because my husband's very good at sort of keeping me grounded, because I'm quite fiery, and he'll say to me, "Oh, please don't respond," because he's going to get a night of me talking about it nonstop. She said this, she said that, what should I say? And also because he's just like, take a step back and breathe for a second. But this one time, this face painter just kept going on and on. And I said to him, you know what? I've been quiet enough now. I am going to respond, and then I will block and delete, because I am not having it. I'm sick and tired of people. And at one point, my business was just all about responding to these people, to this criticism and these trolls. And looking back, I don't know how I overcame that. I just, again, worked on my mindset, had a good cry, gave myself some time out. I definitely remember taking a break from it, and then coming back and just implementing a little bit of change, or maybe tone of voice, or maybe the message I put out. I don't know what it was, but there's nothing specific. It's just I'd had enough. And you know, those people are still blocked and deleted to this day, and don't know what they're doing with their lives, and I'm still here. I think that's the point to it, is how you deal with something and how you come out the other side. And even if you don't come out the other side and just shut your business, that if that's the right thing to do for you, which I did nearly do, then that's the right thing to do, you know, for your mental state. It's not, I think failure is a good thing in life, and I've definitely failed on many occasions. Even with my social media business, failed and failed again. And it's taught me a lot, and I wouldn't be on the podcast with you if I closed it or didn't learn from those failures. So it's all a good thing. It's all, you know, I know we don't like it, but I think it's all a good thing, and it's how we deal with it that gets us to where we are. That was a bit woo-woo.
No, I love it. I think that's brilliant. That's such a good mindset to have, and such a good perspective to have and to share with us. Shifting gears a little bit, can you share 3 of your top tips for coming up with a content plan that speaks to your ideal clients and is actually going to get you results? Because I know so many people just post random stuff, and I have been guilty of this myself. The last few months I've been struggling with my own content, even though I help other people with theirs. Like, it's been a struggle, and sometimes I'm like, I'm just going to put this out because something needs to go out. But you are very skilled in creating the content plans that actually get results. So can you give us 3 top tips for coming up with that good content plan?
Yeah, keep count, because I'll end up either doing too many or too little. Top tip number 1 is obviously planning is a big deal. It's planning, batching, posting, I suppose. Planning, batching, posting. So plan away. And how do we plan? You know, I always look to, well, obviously there's a lot about your strategy and things like that, which I won't go into, but depending on what your goal is and what you want to achieve from social media is how your content's going to look. But if you're planning in advance of what your content's going to look like, say for the month, then you know you can create that content as and when you want to, without, I mean, I do the same as you, Rebecca. Sometimes I do just ad hoc posts because I haven't posted for a week. I've kind of let that go a little bit and gone, well, so what if I haven't posted for a week? Let's get the plan out. And I will have things on that plan that will include things like any national days I might be but that will be relatable to my audience. I'll have things that I want to entertain my audience with, so I might do a dance to try and get my point across on reels, perhaps. I might want to inspire, so I'll tell a part of my story. Again, it might be something like, if the kids went back to school this week, you could say, well, the kids went back to school, this is what my business is going to look like for this season, and just tell people what to expect. Have you got any launches coming up? How did you get to where you was? You know, how did you find the summer holidays? Little things like that. And I'll also add on lots of hints and tips and how-tos and top tricks. And when I've got the basis for those things, the national days, the inspirational content, etc., I then look at the month ahead and put things in place where I want them to go. So that's one top tip, is sort of plan ahead. And there's content everywhere. So even as you go along about your day and you're thinking, well, today I've got a post going up, I really wanted to post about this, just I'd put it on my notes on my phone and just be like, well, I'll save that for those days where I go, I've got no content to post. You know, just pick things up each day. The second thing is batching your content, which means to take some time out of your day, could be an hour, to create that content in one hit. I only post like 3 times a week. So for me, like 3 reels days or 3 static posts. And to me, it's easy, but that's because it's come with time and routine. But I will just batch those things out in one go, record all the videos, like create all the graphics, write out all the copy for it. And then I'll either store it on my phone or on my laptop and spend a day scheduling it all in. And then you could just go about your day. I suppose that's the third tip, which is posting. I wouldn't recommend what me and Rebecca do, is to post and then like have no meaning behind it. Although I don't see that in your post, Rebecca. They all have a meaning. They've got a story. Sometimes I'll, like at the weekend, if I'm posting as an entertainer and I'll be like, I had an amazing weekend with, the kids and stuff. There was never any point to it really. It was kind of just showing people that I had bookings that weekend, but what's the point? And I sort of then started to leave a call to action at the end and saying, if your child's birthday is coming up, this is what I did this weekend, get in touch. But now I've started to actually ask kids to leave me reviews whilst I'm with them. Obviously I get permission beforehand and it doesn't always go to plan, but I've found something where you've got nothing to post on a weekend but you want to post, getting a kid to do a review is a really good, obviously if you work in the industry, is a really good tip. But yeah, they're my 3. That was 3, wasn't it? They're my 3 tips.
I
so many.
I love the idea of getting the kids to leave a review, because I think that's social proof is obviously huge for marketing yourself, but the fact that you get the kids to do it, that's got to be pretty.
They're a bit honest though.
Yeah. Well,
sort of like
funny though, isn't it? It's that relatable and that humor and that like personable side of your business, where it's not like, let's get a parent to write a review when the parent's not the one that's watched the show.
yeah they've been in the kitchen like sorting all the food out. It's the child that has, this particular child that I did recently, I've entertained for her 3 times, and before the 3rd time I messaged the mum. I said, look, it's the 3rd time, is it possible to get like a video review before I leave? She's like, oh yeah, she won't mind. And the kid actually reminded me on the day I was packing up, she's like, can we do this video now? And I was just like, hell yeah. And obviously the kids have got to be confident, and the mums have got to be happy with the social media side of things, but good God, it's like no. And also nobody else, they'll probably do it now, but there's nobody else in the entertainment industry that gets the kids to leave a review. They might sort of get the audience to shout out, we love you, or something like that, which is brilliant, and I've done that too, but I don't see anybody else asking the kids. And it is a big ask, and you do have to remember there's lots going on the day as well. But if I haven't got a booking after and I don't have to rush out, and everyone's tidying out, the kids are only running around, I'll just quickly say, can I have a review? And they're my best audience. That's who, obviously with social media marketing, I'm targeting the parents, but it's the kids that have got to love you, so why not get them to join in with your marketing as well? It's kind of, you got to kind of find those little loopholes that nobody else has really thought of, and have again, it comes back to confidence. It's the confidence. I don't really like asking parents if I can take pictures of their kids. It comes from a rejection thing, it's like, oh, they're going to say no. And I did have someone say no yesterday, but it was absolutely fine. But it's a confidence thing to ask those parents to get that for the sake of your marketing and your content, really. Yeah, I can share that like to kingdom come.
Talking of reels as well, we mentioned those briefly. Reels is one of the content types that you support your community and your clients with the most, because although it's been around for a couple of years now, there's still a lot of confusion or a lack of confidence when it comes to creating reels. What would you say is people's biggest struggle with reels, and how can they overcome that?
Oh, I think it might be twofold really. I think the first one is thinking that they've got to act the fool to record a video, dancing, pointing, the things that we all didn't really like in the beginning. I think there's that, and then I think it's also the not knowing what to post. Again, it comes from not knowing what to post anyway. Pre-reels, it's just another format that we have to learn. But what I kind of say to people in my industry is that you've got the content already, it's only the format that has changed. So all you need to do is just adapt the same content, and you're just turning it into a video format. And it sounds scary, but I think once you're shown that it's really simple and basic, if you could learn how to create a static post, which takes a lot longer, You know, it's a lot quicker and easier to just, I don't know. I mean, I think I animated a review the other day, which I think you helped me with. I think I asked you. I was like, how do I turn my writing, my font? Couldn't think how to make it move.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. You don't even have to show your face. So again, yeah, the confidence thing to show, and maybe people do want to show their face, they just don't know how, or it is a scary thing. But I sort of trying to help wean them in with both of those things. It's like, well, why don't you just create a reel that's just an image, and maybe lots of images as clips, and then when you get to grips with that, then start practicing talking to camera. If you want to dance, because then you don't have to talk. You can just point to things and put your words up and your captions. Still don't have to talk to the camera, remember. And actually, I think you'll get more views if you stand there acting like an idiot. You're not an idiot, but if you feel like one, you know, it's not an easy thing to do. But yeah, like I say, it's just changing the way you create content. It's as simple as that.
I love it. That's such good advice, and you've inspired me. I'm going to go back through all my old Instagram posts, see which one's got the most engagement, and I'm just going to record them as reels. I'm like, oh my God, I've got so many ideas.
Oh, sorry. I've overwhelmed you. But it's true, like I go back, especially when I haven't posted on my party page for a week now, because I was doing a challenge and I posted a lot of reels in one go. And then I had a break because it was a lot. But if I haven't got any content, I'll just scroll through down to the images that aren't reels, and yeah, and just either create new ones or different versions, or just reshare that one as a reel. Yeah, so good luck. I'm sorry about that.
Thanks.
Oh, no.
Before we go, something that I wanted to talk about is imposter syndrome, because it's something that we talk openly about in our group chat with Francis. And it's funny because we all kind of take turns to have the imposter at different stages. It's so common for us as women and as business owners to feel like an imposter in what we're doing at various different stages of our journey. When it comes to dealing with imposter syndrome, what would your top tips be?
Oh gosh, I still go through it, Rebecca.
Me too.
I mean, again, I think it's a mindset thing. So when I do go through it, I try and remember, so I read a lot, and obviously I listen to your podcast, and we talk a lot. And I think I just try to switch. So when I feel it's coming on, because I've probably got it at the moment because I'm in the middle of a launch, and all those thoughts come out. I haven't had them for months, and all those thoughts come back out. Oh my gosh, it's like at the moment, my biggest imposter syndrome feeling is there's not enough content that I'm giving out, but I don't want to saturate it because then I'm gonna have to put the price up. But then I'm like, oh my gosh, they're not going to like it because it's not enough. It's like only a few videos, and so all those things come out. How am I dealing with that? I try and change how I'm thinking. So if I'm thinking, okay, well, you know, there's not enough content, I'm going to ask my husband to look at it from a fresh pair of eyes. So I'm recording everything, and then I'm going to show him the course as if he was buying it, because he knows nothing about reels. So it's kind of like a good way of sort of like sharing it with him and say, right, if you was going to buy this, is it the right price? Is there enough content? Regardless of what he says or not, I probably won't change anything. But it kind of helps the imposter syndrome. And the other thing I do is I'm going to remember courses that I bought that have been the same price point, that didn't have as much content in, but I still took a lot of value from. Which is what I've got to remember, is there is so much value in what I'm about to launch. The industry has asked me for this course that I'm launching, so I know that they need it. And I know that somebody has already emailed me and said that they can't wait for it to launch. So fingers crossed, that's at least one sale. So I have to remember all these positive things, and that the negatives are it's only my imposter that's telling me this negative stuff. So I'm just kind of going, okay, well, you think that, but what about the time that you bought that course? Or what about the time that you launched something else for a similar thing and they all bought it? Or what about the time you put market research out and asked them what they wanted? This is the reason why you're doing, you know. So I'm kind of trying to listen to the nice thoughts and get to grips with that. It's really difficult. I wouldn't claim I am an expert in imposter syndrome at all, because I don't, and you might disagree with me, but I don't think it ever goes away. Like, I think it will always be there, especially when you're doing something new or putting yourself out there. Like I had it with my podcast, but I was like, oh, I don't think anyone's going to listen to it, and they did. And I had to, and the hardest thing I had to do, and still have to do, is to not give up when I think it's failing, because it's not failing. Because if you give up at that point, you're never going to know if it was going to work. So like when I got to my 13th podcast episode, I finally started to see the results. But on the sort of 5th or 6th, I was like, oh, is this worth carrying on? Like, is it? Like, oh, I don't know, maybe I should just stop. Maybe just one series will do and I'll never do it again. And then it's like, well, hold on. If I'd stopped then, you wouldn't have known that by the 13th episode, people love it, and it's helping me with my new launch, and I've made some amazing contacts and helping people. So it's so difficult, isn't it? It's such a tricky thing to try and get over those thoughts and to just not quit. And especially when I think also as women and our hormones kick in, I think that doesn't help either. I like the hormones with me when it's my time of the month, it enhances it, and I have breakdowns and they only last a day. Whereas if it doesn't clash with that, I can manage it better. But when it does clash, I'm an absolute mess, and I have to ride that through to get through to the other side. So there's a hell of a lot riding on that. And I wasn't very much help there. I don't know how you deal with that. It's just, that's how I deal with it.
No, I think that's good. And I think having that self-awareness as well, like if like you're feeling a certain way and you can go, oh wait, this is why I'm feeling like this, like I'll be fine tomorrow. Like when I have days where I like cry over nothing, or I'm like really angry and frustrated, and I'm like, oh, I know why this is.
It kicks in.
You can talk yourself through it and be like, do you know what, it'll be fine tomorrow. Like I know what I'm going through, I have this. And I like what you said about like going back to all the times, like what about when you bought this course, or what about when you did the last launch and this worked, and you can really focus on those more positive things that have happened.
I think if I didn't have that, I just wouldn't do anything, because I've got things to base it on, I suppose. And that was the whole reason for me launching. But unfortunately, imposter syndrome kicks in, and I think, it's how we deal with it, isn't it? And how we change our minds. That's the only thing that's really got me through it. Obviously, voice noting you and Francis really helps. So I go, why am I feeling like this today? And how do I deal with it? And but it's a work in progress. And I suppose confidence too. I don't really get it with my party business as much. Or do I? Am I telling a lie? I mean, I think the only time I get it is if a customer books me for something that I don't normally do, and that might be like a time thing. So I've got like set packages, and if they've changed, they want a 90 minutes instead of 2 hours, I think the imposter syndrome sort of kicks in, where I go, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I don't know, I feel like I don't know what I'm doing, and are they going to like it? It's different to my normal show. So maybe it does kick in, but I've got more confidence with my party business because I've been doing it for so long, and it's the same thing all the time. And obviously the children change and the parents change and circumstances change, but the show is still the same, and I know that I'm adaptable. But with the social media marketing, it's still a work in progress. It's still the confidence is there to deliver, but there's other things that I'm not confident in that will grow with time, and I'm here for the journey. And my word of the year this year was patience. And it's definitely got me through. Like I say, I want everything done yesterday. I want the launch to have been done yesterday and look all shiny and spectacular, but I've got to stop thinking that way. I've got to have patience, and that will come with time. And that's me talking out loud about my imposter syndrome, because it's here now, and it's like, oh gosh, the anxiety kicks in. But if I don't see it through, I'm never going to be able to work on anything else in the future. So tough on that one.
That's a good way to look at things, and such a wonderful way to end. I really, really enjoyed this chat with you. It's been so nice. Thank you.
Thank you. No, it's all right. Thank you for having me, because I hope it inspires and helps other people, because I've been in that situation. And why wouldn't I? You've given me an opportunity to tell people that if you are thinking that, I've been there and done it all. Well, it feels like it anyway. It's only been 10 years, but it's a long time. So thank you for giving me the opportunity.
No, thank you. Where can people find you if they want to know more?
So I'm on Instagram and Facebook, and it's at The Party Marketeers, MARKET WERS. It's a bit of a mouthful. Or they can contact me via my website, which is thepartymarketeers.co.uk.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming, Jade. And I will see you all in the next one.